Walking around Canada in 2025 feels like a mix of being in the Middle East and India. It's truly shocking. If you haven't been to Canada recently, any major city center, I've lived in Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa, and we're a minority. White Canadians are absolutely a minority. There's no doubt about it. And to those woke ideologues who will name call and say you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, every name in the book, if you point out the rapid demographic shift that we've seen in this country and the massive both cultural and economic changes that we've seen come along with it, do you think that China is racist because they remain a Chinese vast majority country? What about Japan, where they just elected the furthest right-wing politician they've ever elected? All throughout Africa, countries are restricting immigration. Same thing in the Middle East. Why is it that despite the fact that whites only make up about 10% of the world population, it seems as though the Western countries are the only ones that if you criticize immigration policies, if you point out the unprecedented, and it is unprecedented, the unprecedented demographic shifts that are radically transforming your country, you're immediately labeled a racist, a hater, a xenophobe, every name in the book. But I never hear these far lefties or these woke ideologues complaining about China, complaining about Japan, complaining about the Middle East. And this country has transformed so quickly. Now, 26.4% of all adults living in Canada are first generation. Over 50% are either first or second generation. And we should start calling this out for what it is. It is replacement. It absolutely is replacement. The birth rate in Canada is low, and they're bringing people in from the Middle East, from countries like Afghanistan, countries like Iraq, that have massive birth rates from places that share absolutely none of our woke Canadian values. I don't think that the woke would enjoy their time in Afghanistan or Iraq very much. Good luck waving your Gays for Gaza sign over there. You're not going to have much luck. In many of these countries, women are actually not allowed to leave the house without accompaniment by a man. I don't believe that fits in very neatly with your woke ideology. But if we don't start calling this out for what it is, which is replacement of the Canadian native-born population, we're just going to disappear. That's what's going to happen. You look at the demographics across a lot of areas of Canada. Vancouver went from just 20 years ago being about 80% white to now it's under 40%. And it leads to a totally different type of politics. When you change the demographics, when you change the makeup of the people in your country, the politics shift extremely. The Liberals would have never won re-election after Trudeau's disastrous 10 years if he hadn't brought 8 million new people into the country. But those 8 million people he brought in vote overwhelmingly for the Liberal Party of Canada. Nearly 85% of them vote for the Liberal Party of Canada. So not only does it rapidly shift your culture, I mean, I'm sorry, but now going into a bank, going into a restaurant, it's completely different than it used to be. It has radically transformed this country. And I don't care if the left-wingers want to call me a racist, want to call me a xenophobe. I'm not racist against anybody. I think when you go to Canada, it should feel like you're in Canada. When you go to Japan, it should feel like you're in Japan. You want to go to Afghanistan, it should feel like you're in Afghanistan. I think that's what makes the world beautiful, is each country having its own unique culture. But this idea that Canada's identity is this post-national state of multiculturalism, I don't even know or understand what multiculturalism means. You either have a culture or you don't. Multiculturalism, it just means that you don't have any identity. You either need to have a strong national identity or you're going to disappear, you're going to go away. And that's exactly what we're seeing in Canada right now. We need more people willing to stand up and label exactly what's going on. The number of Canadians who are not in support of mass immigration has never been higher. It's now over 60% of Canadians say we're seeing too much immigration. That's by far the highest it's ever been in this country. We've notoriously been one of the most pro-immigration countries out there, which is why it's so laughable when people suggest that Canada is a racist country. It's ridiculous. But despite that fact, they're still inviting another 1.5 million people in the country in 2025. Just in yesterday's budget, Mark Carney spoke about how with Bill C-3, they're going to grant another 100,000 people citizenship who have not even lived here, as long as they have one parent who's been here for a minimum of 1,000 days. And why are they so eager to replace Canadians? And don't tell me it's all about GDP. It's all about GDP. Our economy is in the absolute shitter after this mass immigration. GDP per capita, which is the best measure of how your average citizen is doing, has now fallen 6 quarters in a row. You can't apply for a job without it asking, are you trans? Are you Indigenous? Are you Black? Are you a woman? All this woke garbage. And anybody who's spent any time on the job market knows that, particularly if you're a white Canadian, it certainly is not easy. The argument that after 11 years of Liberal leadership that our economy is in any better shape is, for anybody who lives in Canada, definitively a total joke. The economy has gotten worse, and the stats back it up. We're now in a recession. The GDP has dropped 2 quarters in a row. So the argument that this mass unmitigated, unprecedented immigration is necessary for the economy is just a lie. It's just a straight up lie. Bank of Canada, any economist come out will tell you the Canadian economy is in a terrible position right now. And that's after 10 years of unlimited immigration. There were tons of studies. Every Liberal agreed that mass immigration hurt your economy until about 15 years ago when they totally changed their tune. And all of a sudden, it was a great thing to be celebrated. But you can even find footage of Mark Carney talking about how mass immigration, I think it was in 2014, about 12 years ago, he was speaking in the House of Commons and making it explicit how mass immigration was an absolute catastrophe for your native population. And now they argue the exact opposite, and they know they're lying. They know they're lying. We need more Canadians who are willing to stand up and point out that this transformation has to end, and it has to end now. That's why I've started the Fight for Canada party. We're actually going to call the Liberals out on their BS, no milquetoast pussyfooting around it, call out the BS, call out these traitors who are selling the country out. Links in my bio directly underneath the video. I'm about halfway to getting the 250 signatures needed to register. Really appreciate everybody who supports. Thank you very much. And yeah, stay tuned, because we're going to start running some candidates. We're going to actually start criticizing the Liberals for selling this country out 6 ways through Sunday. Please like, share, subscribe, join, become a member, grab some gear, donate. Really appreciate everybody who supports. It's time for Canadian Patriots to stand up.